Okay, welcome back to the Marine Corps Movie Minute, where we discuss the movies of the Marine Corps 1 minute at a time. We are discussing the movie Heartbreak Ridge, and today we're discussing minute 22. The minute begins with Major Powers gently warning Gunny Highway, and it ends with Major Powers beginning to explain that Recon's last sergeant went blank. So we get left with a cliffhanger. We don't know what happened to the last sergeant. Okay, well, once again, I failed to introduce ourselves.
I think they're with us. I think they're with us for the long haul at this point.
Yeah, I mean, get used to it. I'm not even gonna say our names anymore,
Yeah, yeah. Just give them a different name every time.
right?
I am Sam Smith, and this is my buddy Bob Smith.
Billy Montgomery.
Billy Montgomery.
Just for the record, I'm Brian Lockhart.
I'm Jack Perry.
All right, so as we talked about, the minute begins with Major Powers and Gunny Highway having a confrontational back and forth, mostly from Major Powers' side. He's kind of giving a warning to Gunny Highway based on what was discussed in the last minute. But before we get into all that, I wanted to bring up that we both noticed this and failed to mention it last minute. That there was some music playing in the background while they were having their conversation, and it's plain as day when they're talking in minute 22. As they're having their back and forth, you can just hear basically parade, Marine Corps marching band parade music throughout last minute and this minute.
For the record, there's just not a marching band walking around every Marine Corps base playing music. There's not always a parade going on.
I tried to look out the window in both those minutes, and actually, spoiler alert, you hear it again next minute too.
Yeah.
And you never see the band outside the window. And it's one of those things where I'm not sure if this is just piped in to kind of give I don't know, like just give some background noise to make it feel more like they're on a base, which they are. They filmed in Pendleton, or at least, most of it was filmed in Pendleton. Or if they happen to just legitimately capture
Man.
a band for real out there practicing, and while they filmed their scene, and they just either didn't notice it or they left it in.
Or this asshole has a John Philip Sousa cassette playing in the corner somewhere.
I never even thought about that, but he is. We do know. I mean, we'll find out later too that he is a by the book Marine, so he probably is. Just sitting there listening to it, pumping himself up in his.
Yeah.
Well, what I thought was funny because that is, John Philip Sousa. You mentioned that that's all the music that Popeye when he got his spinach would do, and it's like it was just it was. There's one point like about 39, 40 seconds into the minute when they're really kind of face to face going back and forth, and they're pausing a little bit between their conversation. You can hear the music plain as day, and it sounds like Popeye music at that point.
Yeah. Some marching band just stomping outside the window, just kind of just drilling around the parking lot.
So, we mentioned offline when we were talking before, when we did minute 21, that we never noticed that before, but if it wasn't for having our headphones on.
Yeah, because we were both like, "Wait a minute, do you hear music?"
Yeah, it almost well, like, we're sitting here and I'm like, "Do I have a browser open that's playing music and I can't hear it?"
Yeah, yeah.
And
Is it a
we both
band?
said that yeah, we said that to each other, like, am I crazy or are you hearing that?
Yeah.
Just before we started recording, I was going through the minute myself again, and of course, that's where I noticed the Popeye music. But I took my headset out and I turned my speakers way up, and it took a minute for me to hear it, but then I could hear it without my headphones. But I will honestly say, for every single time that I've ever seen this movie, I have never noticed that music in the
Oh,
background before. It's like totally tuned out.
yeah, and I'm kinda curious too if it's one of those little Hollywood tricks to kinda give the movie a more military feel without being obvious, just something in the background that you don't even really pick up on that,
You almost,
Go ahead.
yeah, almost subliminal.
Yeah, yeah, there's a "Drink the Kool-Aid, drink the
Right.
Kool-Aid." So
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I'm like, the odds that they just kinda had a goof for that long, that entire time, nobody noticed,
yeah.
and it makes me think that this was intentional.
Plus, I mean, if this was the case, they could have gone into ADR, done the additional dialogue recording to clear all that stuff up, and they just removed that audio track and just redid the dialogue. But Yeah, I kinda get the feeling like this maybe was intended to be there, or as many times as we've seen it, we just now noticed it. It's possible it's like that airplane that was flying in the background of that one John Wayne, like, was it Genghis Khan? Nobody ever noticed until it was too late.
Right, right, or I think it was the movie Life with Eddie Murphy, they were wearing their watch.
Yeah, yeah,
Now I think, I was trying to, find some information about the, the band and all that, and I thought it was the 1st Marine Band or the 1st Division Marine Band or whatever was I can edit all this out because I don't even know what I'm talking about now, but
no,
there
you should leave it
there is a legit band,
in.
Marine band that they used at the end of the movie,
Right,
and I think they were actually in the officers club at one point too when they there was a scene later on.
yeah,
Some of those guys were in there, so it made me kinda, wonder if they basically did this, but again, it coulda I think you're right. I think they just kinda pumped it in the background, kinda left it there, give the feel of a Marine Corps base without really being obvious, and like I said, we it's almost subliminal because I've never noticed it, but it's with your headset on, it's
yeah.
unavoidable, like,
Yeah,
you
you
can't
can't. So
unhear it.
yeah, it's the almost thing you almost miss the dialogue because you hear it so much.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I said, when they kinda pause, it's almost distracting, but without it, without the headset, you don't really hear it.
And for the record, I mean, there are bands on Marine bases. As a matter of fact, I think pretty much every substantial base has its own Marine Corps band. Like we actually lived with in the barracks. There were guys in the band that lived kind of close to us. So
Yeah,
and they travel around a lot and stuff. So I mean, it's completely possible that there was a band outside playing, but wow, I mean, it's just you really can notice it, in this thing. Well, at least with headset on.
right. Alright, so now that we got that out of the way, we 'cause, I mean, we could just talk about the
Everybody
band all day
bored the
long.
fuck out of everybody about this goddamn band. All right, we got it. There's a band. There's music. Move on.
Yes, we like music.
Yeah.
Movies have music.
Yeah.
The minute picks up with Gunny Highway and Major Powers having their conversation from the last minute, and basically we found out that Clint Eastwood conduct unbecoming, basically insubordination, and Powers was basically warning him, and he said, he hit a fellow officer or his old fellow a former classmate of his, so he knew the man, and so basically he said he gets in his face and tells him, "You try that with me, and your butt will be in a sling for a month. You hear me, Marine?"
Yeah. It's a new Marine call.
Right, and as we exactly, but as we discussed previously, he used Marine as an insult.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
he said, "You hear me, Marine?"
It's all about inflection.
Yeah, he was not being very respectful.
Yeah, until he looked down on all his medals and ribbons, and he was like, "Oh, all right, well, shit." You just see the color just kind of use the fight kind of left his face. So
Oh, right, right. Well, before that, he's still kinda laying into him, and he's like, "I don't know what kinda stunts you pulled to get back here," which, as we know, he didn't pull anything but other than just harangue his former command for a transfer.
yeah, I want to go home.
He says, "I assure you I don't like it." And I'm like, "Well, my only comment is no shit."
Yeah, yeah. No, you made that clear.
Yeah, he's not trying to hide it by any stretch of the imagination.
Tom Highway, and the look on his face too, man. He's completely nonplussed by the whole exchange. He's like, "Man, I don't give a shit what you say." I am kind of curious though. I mean, I kind of have an idea, on how the movie goes. That well, so we had some officers that were pretty good, and we also had some officers that were not as strong as some other ones. I I I I don't know that Gunny Highway may have been. I don't know. He may have been right to punch that guy. he, I just get the feeling, unless there was, if he was at a bar somewhere. But even then, I don't see Gunny Highway as the guy that kind of starts fights. I kind of see him as the guy that finishes them. I don't think that Gunny Highway, and that might have been why they didn't just boot his ass out too. Is that because they never explained what that happened. What happened is that was just the reason why they got rid of him.
I mean, you have to imagine, given that and we see it plain as day, that he is a Medal of Honor recipient, that
Hmm.
they are not. It would be bad PR, maybe
Yeah.
even back in the '80s to boot somebody.
Yeah.
a medal, for something like that. That probably does give him a little bit of leeway, not to mention his service record, which the judge took into account and gave him some leniency.
Yeah.
It's likely the Marine Corps transferred him out, put him basically to a, I guess, more or less you would say, a desk job by doing air
Yeah.
supply and not the band. And, so now he's I guess, proven himself that he, earned his way back.
He's out of the penalty box.
Right, exactly, but clearly there's some people that don't, agree with that assessment. And, as he says, you even brought up, he says, "This is the new Marine Corps, a new breed," which alls that reminds me of is when, at the time when we went through boot camp, they would talk about how this is the mothers of America have ruined the Marine Corps.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the mothers of America have been ruining the Marine Corps since 1776 or 1775. Yeah.
Every next generation, is not as tough as the one before it, and that's true.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true. No,
Yeah.
just
Well,
kidding. I'm just kidding.
well, I don't know. Travis, my oldest, is in the Navy, and some of the schools he's went to. He was telling me some stories, man, about how they kind of treat the Marines. Like they really do treat them like if they let them off the base, they're just gonna rape and pillage and burn and destroy, and it's just gonna be horrible. So they keep them in their camis at the base the entire time because for whatever reason they just didn't think that they were gonna act like adults if they left the perimeter. So
I find that funny because we did our training at a naval base back when we were in, and we were the only service that was given almost complete leniency and autonomy.
we ran that place.
No, for real. Like the day we showed up, the
Hmm.
day I showed up, they said, "Welcome aboard. Now you're on a 96." Or a 72. I had like 3 days off. I was like, "Oh, gee, thanks. What?" They're like, "Anything you want." And they always kind of joke that we'll give you enough rope to hang yourself.
Hmm. And they did.
Because, I mean, we didn't have to, the other services had to earn going off base. We didn't. We could go off base day one. When you're off duty, you could leave.
For the most part, we were the best behaved.
Yeah, I remember the Navy had a tiered system where first they couldn't go off base, and then they could, but they had to be in their not their full dress uniform, but they had to be in uniform and in one of their
Wow.
nicer ones. And then after over time, they could be in civilian gear. The Air Force, they were marched everywhere. They were kept separate, and they were marched everywhere they had to go. They had to.
Yeah.
The other 3 services mixed pretty well. The Air Force are off on their own. But yeah, they were I don't think they were allowed off base for quite a while, and I remember showing up day 1, they're like, "See ya.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hope you don't fuck up."
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, it's funny you say that about the modern days, they're trying to keep them under control because I actually just saw something today. That made your comment made me think of this thing I saw today that said it was discussing the recently formed Space Force that
Mhm.
that they're trying to get up and running,
Right.
and they said they were only gonna recruit from the Air Force and
Mhm.
not take any prior service Marines because if we ever meet intelligent life, the first things Marines would try to do is fuck them,
Yes.
and they don't want that, so
You're clearly not
Marines are
from
banned.
here.
Clearly,
Yeah.
that's in practice from based on what you said, they're
Yeah.
already thinking about it,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
okay.
Other more intelligent species look at Marines like Klingons. Just like, just want to put my pee in that, and then I'm gonna put my knife in that, and then I'm gonna probably cook it, and eat it.
Crayon eating Klingons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's true. It's hard to. I mean, listen, coming from any other service, they get a browbeating, but um, yeah, it's kind of true.
So back to Major Powers, he thinks Gunny Highway is one of the, crayon eating Klingons, so, he thinks he's an anachronism. I know what he means by that, but I had to look the definition up. Come on, I mean, I'm not an English major, come on.
No, no, I
But
was a Marine. I was a Marine.
right, exactly. I was just talking about eating crayons, so we
Yeah, yeah, and we both agreed.
uh, oh, so, an anachronism is a thing that belongs to a period other than which it exists, or old-fashioned, so that's exactly what, Gunny Highway is, even in the bright modern future of 1983.
You just did a major favor for all the other Marines that were listening. 'Cause they're like, "On a knack or what?" Cataclysm? You mean like when the world falls apart? No, no.
Do I have to go back and say it again, but slower?
Yeah, yeah, don't spell it, whatever you do, don't spell it.
I think they thought I said anarchism.
Yeah, yeah. You mean when you wanna burn everything to the ground? No, no. Easy, Jethro, slow down.
You know, he thinks about Tom Highway being sealed in a glass case and only taken out in a that says, break glass only in the event of war.
Yeah,
And and when he says that, Chuzu, it's just been standing there the whole time. He just completely rolls his eyes at him, like, what
yeah,
an asshole.
yeah. Cocksucker.
And you know, they kind of just keep having a stare down. And like I said, Chuzu's just kind of there, just kind of like Jesus, you know, laying it on a little thick, Major, but he doesn't say that. But
Mm.
you know, and I like Clint Eastwood's response is that, you know, he's basically being insulted this whole time, and he's sitting there taking it in. He's, you know, giving a few squinty-eyed looks at him, but he says, "Look, I understand if I don't do my job, a lot of body bags get filled, sir." You know, he throws the "sir" in there.
Sir, like, yeah, like he used "sir." So another little trick that happens is when an enlisted Marine gets insulted or, uh, gets pissed off at an officer, you can use "sir" the same way he says "Marine."
Right.
He yeah, "Sir." Like, period.
Well, another little neat trick too is instead of saying "sir," you call them by their rank. Yes, major,
Major, yeah,
instead of sir. I
yeah.
mean, it's still respectful and you're not wrong, but it is almost like this
Passive aggressive.
Chuzo speaks up and he's like, "Sir, Gunny Highway's been assigned to the recon platoon." So they, of course, that's when it kind of dies down. Now, one thing I thought was a little funny, and I was looking this up a little bit. So earlier in the minute, he mentions, no, he doesn't mention was it a major or the lieutenant colonel that says he's going home,
Right.
mentions that he's going to the second reconnaissance battalion. Well, that doesn't. If he's going to a reconnaissance battalion, it doesn't make sense that he would then go to recon platoon inside recon. Because if he was going to a reconnaissance battalion, wouldn't they all just be recon?
Yeah.
So, in all likelihood, he probably just went to a traditional Marine infantry unit, and but he's now in charge of the recon platoon of that traditional infantry, like,
Right.
battalion or whatever. And that would make more sense too, because later we'll see that there's first platoon makes no reference to them being recon. They're just first platoon,
Right.
and yet recon platoon is always recon platoon, and they have a bit of a rivalry. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like the traditional platoon versus the recon platoon.
Right.
So I think that was just a little like, a, gaff, you know.
Yeah.
But
Y
if you really don't know, like it was only when I went back and was like kind of reading, figuring out where he's going, where he's coming from, blah blah blah, and looking at a little, from previous notes, it's like, wait a minute, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I think, but I've never paid attention to it before.
Oh, yeah, most of the time we just kinda gloss over, but if you, like, really start to dig into the details, you start to find, little cock ups here and there, but
Yeah, I mean, if
there's
you can
nothing
find
that
it.
ruins a movie, but
No, like you said, if you, I mean, really, it's easy to miss it. And it really doesn't matter, but
mm-mm.
it's just one of those things when you think about it, you're like, wait a minute, first platoon would be recon as well. So why would they have a recon platoon if they're all recon?
Which I remember too, man, when we were in recon was like the Navy SEALs of the Marines. They were, the you had to go through special schools, you had to go through jump school, you had to go through scuba bubble or swim school. You had to get your scuba bubble. And like they were a little bit more elite of the, elite Marine infantry units.
Right, and that's why I was like wondering. It's like, like to me, I always looked at it as these were like like special forces type guys. But now when you kind of look at it and look at how the movie's presented, I think these guys were supposed to be just a normal infantry unit.
Force
They just
recon.
Yeah, they just happened to be the recon, they just do recon. That was their focus or goal, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. What do I know? And clearly the movie's not really worried about explaining it to us. You just kind of go with it. Chuzu breaks it up by saying the gunnery sergeant's being assigned to recon platoon, and that makes Powers pause. And he pause. Not only is he pausing, his kind of peacocking around, trying to show that he's the tough guy, he's the boss, and
Mhm. Yeah, he's in charge.
right, and Gunny Highway's going to listen to him and fall in line, or else.
Right.
Um, it's plain as day. The camera focuses on it and pan up. He looks at Gunny Highway's chest full of ribbons and medals. He looks at that fruit salad and he pauses there, and he tries to act unimpressed, but it pans up to Highway's eyes, and
He's clearly jealous.
he kind of looks at him and turns away, sits down, and of course he has some things to say about that. But before we get into Major Powers' reaction, I try to look to see exactly what Gunny Highway has on his chest, what ribbons and medals he has. And let's see here. So
Well, it sounds like it's a lofty list.
it is. And I'm like, oh, all right, got to take a deep breath for this one. So originally, I went through and I tried to see what he had on his actual chest, just from the video, and I think it's slightly out of order of the way it's supposed to be presented.
Okay.
Luckily, somebody built a picture of what it should be. Like, it's everything he has. It's just it was put in the proper order of what it should be. Because then when I went through a list of metal hierarchy
Right.
that kind of shows it, and it matched up with what this chest full of ribbons that they showed. So to start off, he has the Medal of Honor, followed by this Silver Star and he has a Gold Star on it, which means he has at least two or more instances of the Silver Star.
Damn.
So he's a multiple Silver Star award winner. He has a Bronze Star with two Gold Stars. So he may have gotten three Bronze Stars. So I'm looking at this as he's two Silver Stars and three Bronze Stars, if I read that correct. He's got 3 Purple Hearts because he's got the Purple Heart with 2 gold stars. He has, a Navy no, alright, so he has the Navy Marine Corps Commendation with a V on it, and the V means he got it for heroism or valor in combat, and not just for doing your job good. 'Cause, we knew people that got accommodation
Yeah.
filing paperwork.
Yeah, yeah, you did a good job with that.
Right, so the V is there to indicate that this was done, he did a good job, but for heroism and valor. He also received a Navy Achievement Medal, also with a V for combat. He's got the Combat Action Ribbon. He's got the Presidential Unit Citation with three bronze stars, basically a service star, and it means he basically has additional awards for that. So he's got three or four of them then. He's got the Navy Unit Commendation Medal, a Meritorious Unit Commendation Medal with Bronze Star, Good Conduct Medal with 2 Bronze Stars and 1 Silver Star. So if my math is correct, that means he won that Good Conduct Medal 8 times, which is contrary to what
Yes.
Major Powers thinks.
What?
You know, right, for punching an officer
And you still got a good cookie. Here you go.
and pissing on a police vehicle.
Yeah.
But at some point in his military career, he was good 8 times. That's if I did my math right, but he's got a lot of them. He's got the Marine Corps Expeditionary Medal. He's got the National Defense Service Medal with a Bronze Star. He's
Better
got
watch Recon.
the Korea Service Medal with Bronze Stars. He's got the Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal. The Vietnam Service Medal with Silver Star, indicating multiple awards. He's got the Navy Sea Service Ribbon, Bronze Star, Presidential Unit Citation, Vietnam Cross of Gallantry Medal, United Nations Medal, and the Vietnam Campaign Medal. Not to mention, he also has the diver insignia, some jump wings, and he's both an expert in the rifle and pistol.
Yeah.
So that is the correct order according to the American War Library. So that dude has a lot of medals and ribbons.
He is born again hard.
The dude's decorated. There's probably very few people that decorated. So, when Sergeant Major Chuzu mentions that, he's going to recon platoon, Major Powers is like, yes, recon. He said the men are less than highly motivated. And he mentioned that the last sergeant, and he meant the platoon sergeant, But I think it's odd that he said the last sergeant and didn't say specify he was referring to the last platoon sergeant and not
Yeah.
just some random sergeant.
Right.
Was an old time vet, but he went, and then we don't know what he went. That's our cliffhanger. We don't know what happened to the old platoon sergeant, and that's really all I have.
Yeah, I mean, this is a it was a pretty interesting, scene to watch. There's a little bit going on. You kind of see the conflict brewing between Guy Highway and his CO, and it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it is a bit of setup. I'm glad you said that because I didn't even think about it in those terms. But it's totally set up for what their relationship's going to be because right off the bat, Major Powers is showing his dominance, and 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 of course, Gunny Highway is just taking it. But you could, you see the look on his face. He's
Clearly threatened by him.
right. He's still squinty eyed Clint. So. And you can tell he's not really pleased with the way he's being talked to, but he never says anything.
He's
He answers
professional.
right. He's professionally answers his questions directly.
I almost want to hear that the old spaghetti western, tumbleweed across the wow 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 as he's squinting off at Major Powers. Like, uh-oh.
Oh well, in that case, so Clint Eastwood's the good. I assume Major Powers is the bad. Does that make Chuzu
Susie,
the
yeah,
ugly?
ugly, yes, it does.
He's the ugly.
To be even better if the monkey from
Any which way but loose, or every which way.
yeah, I just fucked that one up, didn't I? Yeah, I just want
Ah!
to ruin that joke. Yeah,
Every
he's
which way but loose, or any which way you can. I
yeah.
think I finally got it figured out.
Yeah, I think I want to amend my previous statement about the guy that played Chuzu was the best one. That monkey would have been better to play Chuzu. I think that'd have been an interesting scene to watch.
Everything's better with Clint Eastwood and a monkey.
Yeah, oh yeah.
All right, Perry. Well, do you got anything else?
Oh man. I think we about beat this one to death.
Yeah, I think so. We talked a little bit about it. So, all right. Well, let's just thank everybody for joining us this fine Monday. This fine Monday. And I ask that they come back on Wednesday for minute 22.
Hey, everybody, don't forget to visit our Facebook site and spread the word.
Yeah. Please do. The Marine Corps. What is it? The Marine Corps Movie Minute Quarter Deck. And of course, we have the Marine Corps Movie Minute podcast page if you want to like that and follow us. And of course, we have a Twitter and we have Marine Corps Movie Minute at gmail.com if anybody wants to send us an email. So, all right, come back on Wednesday and Perry and discuss this in the next minute with me. You hear me, Marine?
Yeah, I hear you, Maureen.
Got anything to say? You were going to say something else. Say it.
Ah, no, I forgot. There must be too much lead in them crayons.
Yeah, no kidding. I got nothing.
uh, Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. You know what I'm trying to say?
No.
Doesn't matter.
Keep drowning. Keep drowning. Nope.
Okay,
You get
this
no
passes.
lifeline for me.
Keep going. Yeah, thank you. No help. Let's move past this. Let's just go.